So today we're going to be going over 12 luxurious and clean summertime fragrances that really can't be beat. So my goal with this video was to give you some warm weather summer options that you maybe wouldn't normally think of. You know, when you take a look at a lot of the top 10 summer lists, including my own, the good bulk of these here probably wouldn't actually make it into those videos. And the reason why is because when you take a look at the overwhelming majority of these, they don't really fit into the typical tropes of a summertime fragrance, right? Typically when we're thinking of summer fragrances and when we put together seasonal lists for summer every year, we're kind of focusing our attention on heavy aquatics and citrus fragrances, and that's really about it. At least talking on the designer side. When we get into the niche lists, a lot of times I'll throw in some things that are a little bit out of the ordinary as well, but you get the idea. And so for this video, I wanted to go over some stuff that was clean and fresh, luxurious, high-end smelling that you wouldn't really expect in a lot of instances for summertime. So I think we should talk about that. And before we do, real quick, I will provide links to all of these down below to discounters so you can get them at a price below retail. Strongly recommend you guys use those links, shop through discounters. You can save a ton of money. We're going to kick this one off with a brand new release. It is Polo Blue Parfum. So, you know, Polo, they're really kind of diving in. They're going back into their long-standing famous fragrance lines, and they're updating them heavily. And here, the recent one is a Parfum for just the Polo Blue line. Now, not to be confused with Polo Deep Blue Parfum, which is kind of blue fragrance inspired. It's got mango, ambrox, and that sort of thing. This one is still very much Polo Blue, the original, but much more aromatic and kind of rich, has a little bit more depth going on. So we've got orange, vetiver, clary sage, olibanum, a good dose of lavender as well. It's not going to be your typical summer fragrance. You know, most people would smell this and probably think spring, fall. And I don't disagree there. I think this could work great in spring and fall, but also summer evenings. Okay, I think this one would do very well in those situations. It would excel as a summertime evening out type of scent if you want to be a little bit more dressed up and sophisticated. And to that point, make sure you get to the dry down of this one before passing your final judgment on it. You can look at my first impressions here on this one. Off the top, it's very much Polo Blue, and it may seem like a waste of money, and it may seem boring when you first spray it on, but put it on your skin and let it dry down. The dry down is where this one is at. It smells fantastic. The aromatics really come out. The woods, a little bit of a sweetness and a tiny bit of a kind of spiciness comes out as well, but not too overbearing. This one really hits home, and it's one of my favorite flankers of the year, believe it or not. The dry down is that good. Next up, let's go with Solo Origami. So this is a little bit of a different twist here. I was kind of curious about this one. The note breakdown looked great, and so I wanted to go ahead and dive in and try it out for myself, and I really like it. I think it smells great. Nice, very green, aromatic type of scent. Not your typical release, that's for sure. Basil, bergamot, lavender, rosemary, very aromatic like I mentioned, but also very herbaceous. You know, this one is going to be a little bit more photorealistic, real life. You know, to me, when I smell this one, it reminds me of being outside, just in nature, in like a garden or something like that, just smelling what Earth has to offer. You know, this one isn't made up of a bunch of bubblegum sweetness that you don't really smell in real life. This legitimately smells like something that you could smell in the air if you were to walk outside and go into the woods or into a garden or just be out in nature. So it's very green. You know, this is not going to be for everybody here. A little bit of a challenge, something a little bit different, but if that's what you're after, this is a really nice place to go. Next up, we have Tom Ford Bitter Peach. So definitely not what most people would think of when thinking of a freshie, but luckily that's not really what we're going for here. We're kind of branching out, and at the end of the day, you know, where do you categorize this one? It's got a good amount of sweetness, but also in the name, it's peach focused. It's fruity, you know. I really like this one a lot. Now, to be fair, Tom Ford, especially the private blend, it's hard to go wrong with really any of them. Sure, there may be some that you don't like, but it's really never going to be because it's generic. It's just going to be because it just isn't your style. Maybe it's too challenging. You know, that's one cool thing about the private blend here, is that there's a little bit of everything for everybody, and each fragrance just kind of capitalizes on a certain DNA or a certain style and takes it to the next level. Peach, blood orange, rum, and patchouli are some of the main notes. You know, quite the note breakdown there, but it is all about the peach. Has that sweetness, a little bit of a rum in here, not really giving off too much of a booziness, but kind of adding to the sweetness. Really like it a lot, you know. This is one that I was super excited for. Love the name, love the look of the bottle. That's super sharp. It does have a, you know, a kind of summer theme look to it. And while it wouldn't be something that I would choose for the scorching July summer heat, in the evening when it kind of cools off a little bit, I would spray this on. Let's go with a very easy to wear scent for the high heat. It's Glacial Essence by BVLGARI. Clearwood, juniper berries, and musk are some of the main notes. Very bright, very fresh. Atomizers on these are not really ideal. Most people agree as well, but the scent is really nice. It's going to be probably the most generic of the entire line, the BVLGARI Man line, that is. But also to that point, it's kind of the most summer themed. You know, there's wood neroli, which, albeit is discontinued, but you could still kind of pick it up. And while that one would be good for summer, it's a great summer scent. It has a little bit of that sweetness. Some would consider it a spring scent. So Glacial Essence kind of fits in as their summer fragrance for the line. Now, I guess there is BVLGARI Man Extreme also, but in terms of a mass appeal standpoint, this is going to be the one that they're going to be focusing on. I can guarantee you, in the real world, Glacial Essence will sell a lot more than Man Extreme would. And it's because it has a little bit more of that familiar thing going on. So if you're looking for mass appeal, for high summer heat, but it's still clean and has a little bit of a different twist on it, check this one out. And kind of riding that same wave here, we have Perry Ellis Aqua Extreme. Now this one is a cheapie, and this will be, the first cheapie of this list here. Lavender, geranium, tobacco leaf, and bergamot. So a little bit of a blue fragrance smell. You know, Dylan Blue, Sauvage, Atlantique, that sort of thing. Kind of a mashup of all of those with its own little twist, an aromatic twist. So in some instances, you know, there's a little bit more of a extra layer, a little bit more depth, but at the same time, still going to be familiar. So what's so attractive about this one is going to be the price point. It's cheaper than all of the other blue fragrances that I just mentioned there. Atlantique, discontinued, so that's out of the picture. Dylan Blue, 45, 100 mil, sometimes more. Sauvage, 80 or 90 plus 100 mil. You guys know the drill by now. There are some other cheaper blue fragrances out there, but this one is kind of fitting in at one of the most competitively priced ones. And I think for the price, you get a lot of bang for your buck. And this is another one where if you're after mass appeal, you can't go wrong. We got another blue bottle, ROCHAS Alone. However, scent is completely different, so don't worry too much. Very aromatic here. We have blood orange, juniper berries, pineapple. I'm a big fan of this one. At first, I was kind of up in the air on it. I liked it, but I didn't love it. The more I smell it, though, the more I'm like, yeah, I like that. There's a good amount of a richness underneath all of the citrus, the blood orange, the aromatics, and you can smell that, and you can pick up on that right off the bat. The depth and complexity that this one has for about a $30 fragrance for 100 mil is absolutely crazy. I mean, it still blows me away. You know, this smells to me like it could be a $60, $70 fragrance at discounters. It really does. I would pay that for this one if I had to. Luckily, you can get it for about, again, 30, 35, somewhere around in there, 100 mil. Testers have showed up for as low as 28, and that sold out very quickly for obvious reasons. For that price point, it's incredible. Definitely one you should consider. It's aromatic. It's a little bit more mature, masculine. One that a lot of you guys would like if you're a bit older. You're in a more mature stage in your life. You don't want something too generic. This one's the way to go. Next up, we have Bottega Veneta Pour Homme Essence Aromatique. Pine, citruses, and cedarwood are some of the main notes. You guys know me. Frosted glass automatically scores at some points. Of course, if the scent is terrible, that's not going to help at all. But when the scent is already good to begin with, and then you combine a super sharp looking frosted glass, that just drives it home. I'm a big fan, and the reason why I like this one is, of course, because I like Bottega Veneta Pour Homme, the original, the Extreme, and even the Parfum. There's a Parfum. It's kind of hard to find, but that one's great as well. And so because I like that DNA, I like that woodsy, outdoorsy, pine needle smell, this one, focusing more on citruses, a summertime version, really is kind of the completing puzzle piece to that line there for me. I mean, it fits in perfectly. You know, Bottega Veneta Pour Homme, the original Extreme, you guys know the drill. To me, it's an outdoorsman's fragrance. Not everyone's going to like it, you know, but if you're someone who grew up in the outdoors, you have a passion for the outdoors, you smell that fragrance, you smell the woods and the pine and the aromatics, you kind of feel right at home, and that's what the DNA does for me. And to have one that I can wear in summertime, dressed up, you know, a little bit more serious and formal, that's a big plus. Next up, another cheapie, we have Ferragamo, Acqua Essenziale, Colonia. So these are done by Alberto Marias, the entire line, the original, this one, Essenziale Blue, all done by an absolute beast of a perfumer. So we've got bergamot, clary sage, watery notes. It's cool because you can get a fragrance done by someone like that for about 30 bucks, you know. A lot of his creations are going to be pushing 100, not all, but a lot, you know. Of course, all the Aqua de Joes and that sort of thing are going to be up there a ways, right? This one is one that you can get, again, about 30 bucks. It's a great buy. The quality really shows here. It's another one where I would pay 50 bucks for this one. If that's the going rate, I would do it, and I wouldn't feel like I was getting screwed over. This really packs a punch, all things considering, for the price point, and I think that's very admirable. One thing I do want to point out, though, just so you know, testers do not come with a cap. It's just something to be aware of. If you want that fancy cap, you're going to have to pony up the full amount and pay an extra $3 or $4 to get the full presentation. I say that because I tried to cheap out and buy Acqua Essenziale Blue as a tester, probably only saved $3 or $4, maybe $5, didn't get a cap. I'm kicking myself for that. Let's go over to no, actually not. Let's go over to this one. Low to Kenzo. Grapefruit, bitter orange, spruce, and ginger are some of the main notes. I love spruce, man. Love the sound, love the name, love the smell. You know, it's another woodsy one for me. Kind of gives me a little bit of a similar feel to the Bottega Venetas. This one's much more citrus heavy though, very focused on the grapefruit, but you do pick up on that spruce note. It's woody, it's masculine, it's kind of modern in a way. You know, even though this isn't a blue ambroxan fragrance super trendy, it still has a modern, up-to-date smell. Something that you could rock now, something that you could rock 20 years from now. You know, it kind of has a timeless modern smell, and I really like that. Another good thing about this one is price point. Another cheapie when it's in stock in a normal market, $30, $35. We're going to go with not a cheapie at all. This one is Xerjoff Kobe. So really, price per milliliter wise, it is up there. I don't remember exactly what these are going for anymore. Deals are always coming and going. Typically 50 milliliter is going to be your standard bottle size for this. But you know, you do have Neroli, Petitgrain, Orange. It's one of my favorites. It really is. I love Neo. Neo was my favorite until I smelled Kobe, and now Kobe became my favorite. Who's to say that I could smell another one down the road and I would like it more? It's very possible. That's the fragrance community. Not a single person has smelled every single thing that's ever been released, and that's just about a fact. I mean, really. People don't understand the depth of the fragrance world, but there are so many out there. I'll never smell all of them. Most of us won't. But this kind of took over as being one of my go-to citruses. I love the sweetness, you know. That's one thing I look for in my summer fragrances now, is a little hint of a sweetness. It kind of makes it unique for me. Just straight up citrus and freshness does get boring after a while. The orange is adding to that. A little bit creamy as well. You get this neroli, very strong, good amount of aromatics in here as well. It's magical. It's bright, it's sparkling, and it's magical. And second to last, we have Dior Higher Energy. I'm not used to doing 12, if you can tell. Really not. We've got juniper berries, pineapple, grapefruit, and melon. Don't really hear too much about these anymore. You know, they're just They're not super popular. I do really like higher and higher energy. Depending on the day, I would choose one or the other. You know, just depends. I don't really have a favorite. But needless to say, higher energy, I think it's really nice stuff. Great bang for your buck. Great quality. Of course, it is a Dior. It's got that citrus going on. It's a little bit more mature. You know, it's not super youthful or juvenile. It's a really nice pickup. And last up for this video, we have Valentino UOMO AQUA. Iris, orange, and tomato leaf are some of the main notes. Love this stuff. At one point it was discontinued. Maybe it still is, but there's a ton of it in stock now for decent prices online. I'll link it down below to the best one. But yeah, it is what it is. I get the tomato leaf, kind of gives it a little bit of a green aspect. Of course, the signature iris note is in here, but it's a fresh iris. Orange, giving it a little bit of a kind of a fruitiness as well. Slight sour tart kind of punch. It's a really well put together scent and definitely a bit more upscale. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. That is 12 luxurious, clean and fresh summer fragrances. If you want something different and out of the norm, these are going to be it. Make sure you check the links down below in the description to get these for the best price. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.